I'm so excited that we got to meet and speak with USA's Mrs.Texas 2025. That was exciting, and what a big story she has.
Yeah, like I wasn't quite sure, what to expect. Are we talking pageants or whatever? But
Right.
it's not about the pageant at all.
No.
It's really about an authentic story of this
Yes.
amazing woman who went through so much to come
Yeah.
to this space. And even in her pageantry, in her gown and her tiara, is that what you call a tiara?
Yeah.
She
A
was
crown, or
yes,
yes.
she was as authentic as you could imagine. I think anyone listening to this is going to have some wow moments, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And a trigger warning for this one because we're going to talk about childhood abuse, sexual abuse and trauma, and addiction, heroin addiction, and recovery. But it is a beautiful story and it's an uplifting story. So I hope you'll listen.
The world is a lot right now. Are you feeling it? We all need new tools to help us walk through the chaos with grace, ease, and compassion for each other and for ourselves. In this podcast, you'll hear from parents, educators, and other experts who can bring perspective to the monumental job of parenting. It's time to level up and be warriors for our kids and our communities. This is the Warrior Parent Podcast. I'm Marcy Mitchell.
And I'm Debbie DeMano. As parents, we understand that it really does take a village to raise our kids. We hope that this podcast serves to create and support that community for you. Join us as we discuss and practice our core tools, which are proven mind-body techniques that can be used by anyone to improve your life on a daily basis.
Welcome back to the Warrior Parent Podcast. We're really glad you're joining us today. And today we're really excited because we are speaking with Elaine Mingus, and she is the United States of America's Mrs.Texas 2025. She's a wife of 22 years and a mom of 7. She uses her title to advocate for children through nonprofits like Room Redux and Zonta International. She's a survivor of trauma, and she inspires others through her storytelling. Elaine is the author of over 10 books, creator of 6 online courses, and founder of Curb Vulture, a sustainable vintage reselling business. I love resale and I love vintage stuff. She's modeled in New York Fashion Week. She supports Austin's Slow Fashion Fest, and she regularly speaks on podcasts. She will be competing for the national USOA title in Las Vegas this Memorial Day. So it's a big year for Elaine, and we're so grateful you're joining us. Welcome to the Warrior Parent Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Wonderful.
Oh boy, this is going to be so fun. I was telling Marcy I was making my hair as big as I could, but it doesn't quite compare to Elaine. Like, hopefully, just by the way, everyone get on YouTube and check out
Yes.
Elaine. She's got her garb and her crown on, and she looks absolutely beautiful. So make sure you get on and check her out. But
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the higher the hair, the closer to God, right?
I know, I
That's
know, I
that's
know.
what we
I
hear.
gotta go.
Mine mostly goes out, so I don't know who I'm close to, but other people.
Other people, yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that too.
Yeah, but wow, I was doing some recon on Elaine over the last couple of days, and she has a story also the size of Texas. So I'm not gonna try to even start to talk about that. So Elaine, give us a little background on how you've made this journey to become Mrs. Texas.
So it all kind of started when we moved into a small town outside of Houston, Texas. And my mom was PTA president. My dad had his own company. Everything seemed to be going really great. And what we didn't realize is that the youth pastor at the church we were at was grooming not only me, but several other girls in the youth group using his position of authority for his own sick and twisted advantage. And in the 90s, we didn't have a word for grooming the way that we understand it now. And so when my mom found out, she swiftly took us to the church office to tell the head pastors. And they said, yes, he's confessed. We know exactly what happened. We believe that she seduced him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
11-year-old knows seduction,
Yes,
right? Like,
yes. I was
yeah.
playing Barbies and learning the art of seduction at the same time.
Mm,
Wow,
It
wow.
so
that's awful.
it did. It really, and it took a toll on me because the moment we walked out, my mom was like, "Hey, let's go to the police." And I was like, "Not in this small Texas town when it's my fault and I'm the one to blame. I'm going to get,
Yeah.
because I didn't understand that, because it's not like the movies. You're not like violently thrown against the wall. It's this subtle thing that somebody is taking advantage of a certain position of authority. Abuse is not like how you see on the TV. It's not someone throwing you against the wall and it's
Right.
and so I felt, like I had consented to this
Yes.
event. And
Mhm.
no one really talks about it, the mind game that grooming does to a young girl. And so I was like, nope, let's not go to the police. 10 years later, he was actually convicted of his first offense. He was working at a Christian school for girls for their volleyball coach and was attacking the exact same age that I was in.
Of
And so,
course.
that gave me a lot of validation. Obviously, I was
Yeah.
in my 20s then, but I didn't go. And so, because of all that shame and guilt that I felt, I buried it down and it led to an 8-year long battle with bulimia, which eventually culminated in a almost daily heroin addiction, which almost took my life.
Yeah.
And one day I walked into a church, which is kind of ironic considering all of this happened
Yes.
in
Right.
no church,
Yes.
and was, never the same, realizing that, what happened to me was somebody's sick and twisted, you know, human and not,
Yeah.
God. And so, that did a lot of healing. I turned my life around almost immediately and went on to, have 7 beautiful children with my husband of 22 years. We homeschooled
Yeah.
for 15 years. And then, I was writing and speaking, trying to write and speak while I was having all these babies, which was hard. So I kind of gave that up and started a vintage furniture business, which then led into the pageantry, which led into me advocating on Capitol Hill for sexual violence survivors. And
Yeah.
it's just been it's been a really cool experience to take the pain and the tragedy of my youth and turn it into purpose and fight for laws for stricter for stricter laws against perpetrators, including fighting
Right.
statute of limitations laws, which in
Yeah.
Texas we don't have for child predators, but it's still a lot of states have a statute of limitations, and they're even shorter if you're attacked as an adult. Which, of course, if you know anything about sexual violence, it takes a while for even an adult
Absolutely.
to want to come forward. The average
Yeah.
age of disclosure is 52, and with the median age being 48. So I'm 44 years old, so I'm like right at that mark where you're like, okay, now I found my voice. Like I've got
Yes.
children that I want to protect, and I
Yes.
want to make sure that this life is safe for them and my grandchildren. And now you're like, I don't care about me as much. I care about this future generation. And so I
Well,
think
that's
where I'm at now.
so important because that's the piece of taking your trauma and finding a gift that you can give back. Because if you just suffer and you're not able to do that,
Yeah.
it I mean, that's really the tragedy. It's a tragedy no matter what, but to be
Well,
able to turn it into something else
and
is
then
really
we're,
important.
Marcy and I's big thing is talking about, breaking the trauma cycle of your
Yes.
family, right? So I
Right.
was also sexually molested when I was around 11, and have a great big giant story about it. But just recently got my voice. And that's part of why we do the podcast, right?
Right.
And so it's still difficult. My family, we don't talk about it. I grew up in the Midwest. So, but we have to talk about it because I, like you, am determined to never let that happen to my children.
Yeah.
Never.
Right.
No one will ever do that to my children,
Yeah.
boys or girls, right? So,
Yeah.
so we're on a similar path, but yeah, I think
And it's important. It's such important work.
yeah,
I want to go back to what you were saying about the grooming because I want to be real clear because now politically there's people using the word grooming for something that is not that has nothing to do with this. They're trying to, make it into something it's not. What you were not. I mean, the grooming was he was manipulating you and then of course abusing you, real abuse. And of course, this was in a place that you were, so this innocent young child in a church that should be the safest place for you. And obviously, he showed up there
yeah,
with this, but then the second trauma to you is that then instead of the leadership in your church saying, owning this and taking accountability, they further traumatized you by saying it was your fault. And
Yeah.
talk about
It's
that.
amazing what, and going up and listening, because I'm part of RAIN, which is Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network. And they talk about that all the time, that sometimes, especially if it happens in the home where it's like a father, over a child, and then the child goes to the mother and says it, it's almost easier to ignore the abuse or put or shift blame than to disrupt the entire family unit.
Yes.
And that's so confusing for the person, the victim. And it doesn't end well for anybody. And so abuse, like you said, it's a generational thing. And it's like, not only does it not end well for the victim, it doesn't end well for the entire family, because they're having to cover up and make justification. And then there's, who knows what kind of shifting happens in the brain towards the victim, which further victimizes the child.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And then there are, siblings involved, and then they like, no, she's just making that up. She wants attention. I never saw that, because every child has a different experience. I was just listening to Gabor Mate, who I love. You might have seen this also, but he says all these siblings can grow up in the same house, but have a completely different story about what happened in that house, because there's so many variables in the house. It could be that you're the oldest child or the youngest child, or like, just because of all those little dynamics can create an entirely different story. Right?
Oh yeah, I see. I've got, my oldest is 21, and her childhood experience is way different than my 7-year-old. I mean, he's 7 and I'm 44, and she was, when she was 7, I was like barely 30. I was a baby and I didn't know what I was doing. She's my like little guinea pig child who was helping me raise babies, and so it's definitely, her experience is definitely different, and all the aspects too. Yeah.
And I want to say something else about that, about the idea of just believing victims. And so especially when we've got a child and there's this idea of, the proof, and you gotta this, for somehow we got this weird place where we're worried about the reputation and ruining the life of the other person more than the victim. And I think if we have the statistics, and I don't know if they're out there or not, because people don't talk about it, but it's way, 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 way more likely that this happened, or something really inappropriate happened, than that this child made up some crazy story. I'm not saying it could never happen, but it's way less likely. And yet we treat it the other way. Like, we always want to give the benefit of doubt to the aggressor, to the abuser. And it's just not fair, and it's not right, and it's so hurtful.
And it happens a lot in the church. And I've had friends come up to me after I've shared my story, and how many times when there's and I'm not even talking about an abuse situation, when there's a moral failure of the pastor, and the woman is blamed, and it's like the pastor is he doesn't get, well, she they were in an emotional affair. I mean, and especially if you're, the words emotional affair. Well, of course, the woman is emotional, so she must be the perpetrator of it. And it's just like, and everybody's so quick to defend. He's such a man of God, or and you're like, wait, like, he was in a position of authority, and so he, even biblically, the Bible says those that are teachers need to be above reproach. Like, they're held at a higher standard. We don't hold them. They have to. I mean, this is why Billy Graham and all of these leaders, they left doors open when they talked to women, because they were not going to be found in moral failure like that. And so when you are in a position of authority, you don't get to act like a normal person. You have to be like almost stupid in the way that you protect yourself, because you don't want to be found in those situations.
And the other piece about that is, because I don't think that, well, I don't know, like in all of these, this can happen in other, obviously not just Christian churches, and Catholic churches and non-Christian churches, but this idea that people don't take ownership. If you can just, like, we don't have to expect people to be perfect. I agree with you. People in positions of authority should hold themselves to a higher because they're leaders and people are looking up to themselves. But really, don't we all want to just hold ourselves to a higher level? And that's what we can learn from watching others if they do it. But the piece that's so often missing is the accountability, where you say, oh, I fucked up. I screwed that up. And it doesn't mean, oh, now you're ruined, you're a bad person. But if you can say, you know what, I did not handle that well, or it's not always the case, like with you, like that's like, oh, you're going to jail now. You just molested a child. But even smaller things, oh, you know what, I didn't handle that well, or the way I spoke to you wasn't kind in our own families. If we could learn this and then model this for our children, it takes it from where if you mess up, you've ruined everything. That's too much pressure. It's like, if you mess up, you can own it and you can try again. That changes everything. And that wasn't modeled even in my family. There was no apologies. There was no ownership. There was yelling. And then there was, then there was trying to be nice later. But I didn't learn that in my family. I had to learn that on my own, that I could say to my kids, you know what, I'm sorry. I didn't handle that well. I'm going to do better next time. Like, what a revelation.
It is.
It
really is. I always say, to my kids that sorry that I did it, because that was one thing that my dad didn't do. He didn't say sorry when he, flew off the handle, and it's like, there was a lot of gaslighting, like, well, I deserved it because I was acting crazy or something like that. And I'm like, I was a 12-year-old girl. Of course I was acting crazy. I mean, like, you're the adult. You're supposed to help me manage my emotions. And so, I definitely think that, there's power in confession and healing in confession, and just being like, I messed up. Like, I am just a girl trying to learn this life just like you are. And I am supposed to be the adult. And so I am sorry. That was not adult-like of me to yell at you like that or whatever it was.
Yeah. And then, for like the dads and the pastors and the higher level they get, it's like, now they really can't screw up. So it just makes it worse and worse. And then that's why the blame runs downhill, because they can't accept it. So they just send it down. And that's just a broken system. That's a broken system. That's
I think it's like making those small, for somebody's listening, it's like, just start confessing. Start confessing all the things. Get in a pattern and a habit of confessing and seeing, hey, when I confessed this thing, it wasn't that big of a deal. And I can confess this other bigger thing and this other bigger thing. And one of the things that I've, as an adult, where I'm like, oh, I did something, I messed up, I need to go tell, like, somebody, like, I'll call my sister and I'll be like, well, what is she, if I confess, like, it's good for me, what is she going to do? I'm an adult. Like, is she going to give me a spanking? Like, just tell someone so that you can get it off your chest and be like, I messed up. Let's move. Let's try to figure out why I messed up or whatever.
Own it.
Justification for our bad behavior, and we live in a very emotionally adept society, to the point where, like, well, he did this or she did this because of this and this, and you're like, at some point you have to just say, but it was wrong, and we're gonna take the blame and try to heal.
I apologize, I didn't do well. Like, that just changes everything for both sides, because now you can be like, oh, thank you, sister, brother, mother, father, whatever, thank you, I appreciate that.
Well, and that's modeling, right? That's modeling for your children. So I want to talk about that. So Elaine has 7 kids. I just can't. She has 7 kids and she shows up like this.
I don't know what causes it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. But I want to know, like, you're out there, right? You're out there on a very big stage telling this very big story. And I want to know, like, what your kids think. What does your 21-year-old daughter think when you're telling the story? Is she proud of you? Is she a little bit cringy, like, oh my God, mom's telling that story again? I mean, my daughter can have some cringy moments with her mom, I'm saying, but man, I'm not out there in front of hundreds of thousands of people. So tell me about that.
Hey, we just wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about something very exciting that Debbie and I and our team have been working on for literally years. And that is our Cour Tools app, which is now available at the Google Play Store and at the Apple Store. And you can sign up for it now, and you will get access to all the tools we've been talking about on the podcast.
And if you're an early adopter of Cour Tools, you can get a VIP price for $49 for a lifetime. That's right.
Lifetime.
That's
Buy it once and we'll keep
lifetime.
updating it too.
Yes, yes. So we're super excited about this. Go to Apple Store, go to Google Play, and purchase it now.
Cour Tools, COUR, capital TOOLS.
Go get it.
My oldest daughter is super proud. I mean, she is, you know, we live very much in a almost, you know, it's probably slightly unhealthy, enmeshed situation, because she was a baby raising babies with, you know, I was a baby raising babies with her. And so she saw it all, and she's heard my story multiple times. And, you know, she's super proud of me. And, you know, there's things that we've had to, you know, especially in the area of raising her out of trauma and abuse, and having to learn, oh, I don't need to tell her everything, or I don't need to make her scared. And so she's working through stuff as an adult that, you know, that is my fault. Like, I made her super scared of men, and you know, and she's like having to find a spouse, and she's having to realize, like, not everybody's this awful person. And so there's things like that, you know, I'm like, oh man, and I've had to own up to that, you know, and say, I'm really sorry. That's not how I meant to raise you. But she's so proud. And my 18-year-old is you know, she's like a book talk girly. And every time she sees my Instagram videos, she's like, oh my gosh, you posted that. Like, my story doesn't embarrass them. It's all the other stuff. Like, I can't believe you did that trend, or I can't believe you wore that outfit. Like, what were you thinking?
So that's just normal mom embarrassing their teen stuff.
Yeah. And then I have I have 5 girls and 2 boys, and my boys are the 7th, number 7 and number 5. They don't, they think I hung the moon. They don't think.
I bet they do.
And my 10-year-old girl, they just think, oh, she's so wonderful. The boys don't care. I said, did you tell anybody that I was United States of America's Mrs. Texas? And they're like, no. Why would I do that? Right. And so I substituted at their school, and I was like, did you know that I'm the Queen of Texas? And I said, and that makes my son the Prince of Texas. So he said, Mom. They went around the next couple of days calling him the Prince of Texas.
I love just how playful you are with the whole thing, and like you're just not taking it so seriously, right? Like let's have fun and enjoy this process, and enjoy like what you've gone to. I mean, just the idea that
you've been through some stuff. Yeah,
and you're being so honest with your daughter. You know, I just had this conversation with I just spent a week with my kids in Arizona, and I still find myself being so overprotective with them. It's like, my son's a pilot, you know, they do big things, and I'm still like being their mom. And I saw this thing, a reel that said an overprotective mom is typical of a child who was underprotected.
Yeah.
Right. And so anyway, I sent her the thing. I'm like, I'm sorry, but maybe this explains it. And I think Marcy and I are probably old enough to be your mom, but I think the idea that your generation, really, we've seen all this conscious parenting, and parents just starting to be honest, and just being like, oh, I'm sorry, like, I'm doing the best I can. That's all you have to say, really. Right? It's that simple. But the idea that we were always pretending like we always got it all together and we got it all figured out, is just nonsense. It's nonsense. Right?
Right.
It is. I find that it definitely has continued to open up the doors of communication with my children. If I'm just honest, and it's like, I'm allowing them to have a very real and authentic relationship, not only with me, but with their father, and that translate into a, spiritual relationship with, their Father in heaven. And it's like, you can go to God and you can go to everybody just as you are, and that's good enough.
Yes.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's just how you are is just right. I want to follow up on, because, to say that you had a heroin addiction, almost died, and then, you're Mrs. How do you say it? Mrs. USA's Mrs. Texas. Okay, like that's quite a leap, because we know that that most people with heroin addictions, I don't know what the statistics are, but that is, I think, one of the hardest addictions to overcome. It's just a really powerful drug, and the whole talk a little about that, because that's that's a huge story and hopefully a ray of light for people who could, because a lot of Americans are struggling with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, the opioid addiction is just out of control with the fentanyl
Yes.
crisis and everything. I mean, I have a thing of Narcan at my house, a thing of Narcan in my car
Oh,
because,
good for you.
because you know, just in case.
Good job.
Because you never know. It may not be my own kid. It may
Yeah.
be somebody else's
Just
kid.
a person. Yeah. Another
And
human being.
and you know, having this, you know, you can get these nose sprays, it's just a nasal spray from a lot of
Yes.
places for free. They'll just give them to you because they're
Right.
trying to fight this opioid epidemic. And in fact, I'm actually in a study, and where it fights that some of the drugs that are testing is to fight the opioid crisis and not put the, you know, fentanyl or the hydrocodone or whatever is on back on the street through just medications. And
Yes.
so, you know, I'm really proud of doing that. And then for me, I didn't realize how addictive heroin was until a policeman heard my story and he said, "You've got to tell me how you got off."
Yeah.
Like that doesn't happen. Like your
It
story
doesn't happen.
like make sense. And I was like, I don't know how I got off. Like it was honestly just like a miracle, in my opinion, that when I walked into that church that day, I was searching for something that I didn't realize I was searching for. And once, you know, if you're hungry and you've been eating, you know, like the Haitian kids that are eating the mud cookies, you're eating mud cookies your entire life. And then suddenly somebody gives you pancakes and syrup and fruit and vegetables. It's like, why would I go back to eating mud cookies? Like, that's how I liken it, is that there was no choice to go back. Why would I do that? And so, you know, outside of just having just that huge spiritual awakening, I mean, I've got to assume that, you know, God just took that desire away. You know, but a lot of addictions are like a mental block of, I need this to be fulfilled. So once I was filled, I didn't need it, you know, and I'm not saying that happens to everybody for sure, because there were other things that I did have to deal with. I had an eating disorder. I was smoking, I was drinking. And so those didn't fall off. They continued to kind of haunt me a little bit. And eventually I had to go into an eating disorder therapy clinic where I was, you know, I did finally get healed of that. And then, you know, there was times like, it was just the wildest thing. Like I would find bags of Coke, bags of weed, like in random like when you're a drug addict, these are the things dreams are made of. Like I find a big bag of Coke tucked in away inside my vanity. And I'm like, this doesn't ever happen. So I had to make that choice time and time again to take the bag, open it up over the toilet, and flush the toilet. And it was a choice that I had to make. Cigarettes were really hard to give up because that's a very socially acceptable one. And drinking, I'm not anti-drinking. I don't drink just because I've got so many goals that I feel like especially as I've gotten older, like I'm like having even 2 glasses of wine at 44, it's hard to wake up.
It'll mess you up.
Well, it's just a hangover with 7 kids. Like that's an oxymoron. Like that seems impossible. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh. That's amazing.
That's amazing.
That's a beautiful story. So no
and you're right.
rehab
People
or
don't.
anything sorry,
Right.
Marcy. So
no, that's okay. I'm focused on the same thing, just that you were able to stop without any rehab or anything like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, I have no clue other than just the grace of God led me there and had enough, you know, I think also just having a new goal. You know, my new goal was like, oh my gosh, this great thing happened to me. Let me go tell people that they don't have to stay hidden. They don't have to stay in the dark.
It is. I think you are a miracle. I think that was something that, because you had a purpose to do. And I love that you are talking about it, because the shame is another, just such a horrible piece of addiction. And it's been such a strong piece. And it's maddening when we know that, you know, you can look up the Sackler family, you can look up the opioid crisis and how we got there. And it was greed, and it was making money. It was making money. And they knew that they were addicting people. They knew they were killing people. And, you know, there've been settlements. I don't know that there can ever be enough for the damage that they did to, I don't know, millions and millions of families across this country. In some areas were hit so much harder, but just devastated. But the shame was real. And for someone like you, this beautiful mother, you're accomplished, you have these kids, you've reached this title, you're going for an even bigger title, and you're still able to say, this happened to me, and this is about owning our stuff. I went through this, and now here's where I am now, and I made mistakes, but it's not, I'm not hiding it. I'm sharing it so that people can learn from it. And that's the purpose work. That's really important work. I hope there's
So
lots of people who hear that and see it and think, oh, I'm not bad. I'm not bad. I've been victimized by this, and I can move forward and have a better
So
life.
speaking of the purpose work, you do some work for some nonprofit organizations. So tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about that. We are nonprofits too, so if you want to
Yes.
help us out,
We
actually,
loved
you're
it.
doing this is helping us out. But yeah,
We love to hear about the nonprofits and the passion, the way that people give back.
Yeah, and I do love the work that y'all are doing, raising awareness for mental health and all the things that y'all are doing. And there's a couple nonprofits I work for. Number one, and I won the People's Choice Award, which means I raised enough money by people voting for me to donate $1,000 of that money went to Room Redux, which works with foster care to go in after abuse situations and completely redo sometimes entire houses, but definitely the room where the abuse occurred. And so we're not allowed to see any of the video, but every single time we have a gala, Susie Bibber will show or let us listen to the voices of the children who walk into their rooms after they've been redone. It's so sweet to hear them be so excited that they have a whole new room, with their favorites, the statistics are that the victim of abuse is getting younger and the perpetrators are getting younger. And so, these are, triplet boys who go into the room and it's been completely redone in the Hot Wheels theme. And it's this bittersweet moment where you realize, I'm so glad they're happy, but I'm so awfully horrified that they had to go through something so bad that they had to get their room redone. So I love working with them. They are a global organization, but they are national so that you can go out if you're in Colorado or California or wherever, and you can work with Room Redux to redo rooms of foster care. They don't ever see you. You go in, in secret. Everybody's gone. You go in, paint, decorate. There's a lot of people who donate items. I've donated stuff from my vintage furniture company to just go in, so it looks exactly like they want it. They create like a Pinterest board or something that they are able to kind of give them their dream room. And then I work with Not on Our Watch, which is a global organization that teaches parents how to keep their kids safe online from online exploitation. There has been Nigerian crime rings that have exploited specifically teenage boys, getting them to show their genitalia online and then trying to extort money out of them. If they don't, pay them, and so there's been, I think in 2023, there were 3 young men that just went into the family gun safe and committed suicide because they couldn't get the finances to erase the shame. And the parents say, are just like, number one, informing your kids that this could happen and reminding them, I would rather pay the $1,000 or go to the police than ever. Like, there's nothing so shameful about you being a very normal, healthy, sexually active or sexually curious young boy that would ever make it better for you to be off, out of this planet. And so I work with them. And then, of course, Zonta International, which is just making the world a better place for women and girls. And that could be on the sexual violence forefront. It could be just making sure that when there's a tsunami in Africa or in, all these different countries, that women have the resources to remain in school, because usually women and girls are the first to be taken out of education to deal with natural crises like this. And so just making sure that we have, women that are protected, but also educated so they can go on and do great things.
That is beautiful, because women carry the world and we know this. And so to support them, this is the way that changes everything. If a young mother is supported, if a young girl is supported, she can go to school, it just empowers them to live their best life. And that changes all the other lives, because that's where the women are.
And the rocks the cradle rules the world. Yep, for sure.
Oh my goodness.
I am
Amazing work you're
so
doing.
impressed, Elaine. Like, I think your website says Elaine, period, doesn't it?
Yes.
I think that just,
That's
it
it.
should be
That's all I
maybe
need. Just me.
Elaine exclamation point, I think. Like, but I don't know. Tell us about like your upcoming, like
Yeah.
your big show coming up on Memorial Day.
Competition.
Yeah. So, and like, can we vote? Like, I want to vote for Elaine. Like, how does
Yeah,
this
there
work?
will be. I do believe there's a People's Choice that it's like $1 a vote. I'm not sure. I haven't gotten actually any information on that, but you can
Okay.
watch it on the live stream. It'll be, I think, Pageants Live or pageant streaming or something like that. But it is Memorial Day weekend, which is May 24th and 25th. There'll be a prelims and finals. There is a gown competition and a swimsuit competition. So this mommy of 7 that's birth 7 babies gets to go on stage next to a 20-year-old
Hell
who just got married and has had no babies. So that's a little unfair, but I'm doing it anyhow. And then
Good for you.
We're going for the OGs. The OGs. Yes.
I know. And so then there'll be a national costume, which isn't part of the competition, but it's, a fun show. And then really where you win is an interview so that you can just share your story and your platform and what you're doing for the title. And not just, you're not just a pretty face. You're way more than that. And so
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this platform is specifically, or this pageant is specifically a lot more ambassador. There's an ambassador impact score, which is new for this year. It's 30% of your score. That means how are you reaching out on social media and how are you reaching out on offline as well. And so, it's really cool to see that it's not just a beauty pageant. It's the whole woman, because we're more than just, we love our pretty lashes. We love our, getting our nails done, but we also are trying to change the world and raise a family.
That's right. And honestly, regarding the bathing suit competition, so I'm a almost 60-year-old woman who I just came back from Mexico, but I was in my bathing suit and I was and with my friend who's in her 70s, and just reminding her, this body takes care of me and it's bringing me through the world. And I'm out on the beach in Mexico with 20-year-olds and 18, and I'm like, that's wonderful too. Like, our bodies are not for the male gaze, they're for us, they're for how we're showing up, and you're showing up in such a beautiful way. So, and what's more beautiful than bringing 7 amazing human beings into the world through this gorgeous body and then showing up with it? I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. It'll be a fun time. So
I love all the stuff you're doing, Elaine. It's really, it's very inspiring, very uplifting, and good for you. I'm just well done.
Thank you for showing up for us with your busy, crazy schedule. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, well, definitely thanks for having me, because without you and you doing what you're being called to do, I can't do what I'm called to do. So I'm always appreciative of every single podcaster, because I know as a podcaster myself for my vintage furniture, I know it's a lot goes in the work behind the scenes for sure.
Yes, and we show up for each other, and that's how we're changing the world.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Absolutely. We will be watching to see what happens, and you're the queen of our hearts. Whether you end up being the queen of America, you're queen of Texas, and you're queen of our hearts.
Yes.
That's right.
Hey, warrior moms. As we started this podcast, we had determined that part of what we were going to do is to create a community. So we have decided to take it to another level, and we have started our own Facebook community in addition to the Warrior Parent Podcast, and it's called
From Chaos to Calm, a sanctuary for moms. Here's what it looks like. It's on Facebook right now. Please go and join it. And just to let you know, we're gonna create our Blue Sky accounts right now. We're getting prepared as we watch this weird stuff go on in America. So we may be shifting the whole group to Blue Sky. Just be aware that we got you. You're gonna start here. If this turns out to be not a safe place anymore on Facebook, then we will shift over. But what we're creating is a safe space where moms can show up and get information, get support, talk to each other about the things you're going through with your kids, the things you went through with your our kids, maybe get some advice from moms, but also other experts. We're going to invite all of our guests and experts to join the group. I hope you will too. This is a place where you can show up and be seen and be heard and be safe. Mom's got you.
Nobody trusts anyone more than moms. So let's do this.
And now for your core mental health break. This is your opportunity to take a moment to support your mental wellness, your peace of mind, your own ease and grace. Take some time every day to support your mental health. You deserve it, and it matters.
Today we're going to journal. So get a piece of paper or your journal or use your phone, and here's your journaling prompt for today. My dream job is... So then you just write about what comes up for you, and don't limit yourself by what you think you could do or what you think you're good at or what you think will make enough money. Just describe your dream job. My dream job is... Enjoy your journaling.
Thanks for listening to the Warrior Parent Podcast, which is a production of our nonprofit, Cour Experience, who also creates and distributes Cour tools. You can find us at courexperience.org. Make sure you join us next week for another informative conversation to help you and your family show up mindfully, purposefully, and joyfully with each other and in your community.
Our Cour Tools platform consists of a number of proven tools and techniques that are designed to reduce stress, anxiety, and overwhelm in spite of what's going on in your world. We want to thank Samuel Hale, LLC, for sponsoring this podcast. Technical and marketing support comes from Inspire Your Brand. Our podcast editor is Justin Beeden. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts, the producers, or the financial supporters. I'm Debbie DeMano.
And I'm Marcy Mitchell. Thanks for listening. If you resonate with the idea of creating a community to help support kids and families, won't you join us by following the podcast and sharing this episode? You can even write a review. It truly does take a village, and we appreciate you.